Guys, what is going on? Marcos the Lightning Kid Estrada. We are back. Episode 2 of the Lightning Kid MMA Beginner's Guide, right? So, again, as I said in my intro video, this video is geared towards the beginning practitioner, the person who just got started in MMA and they're kind of looking for, a little bit of guidance. Maybe somebody who wants to get started in MMA. They're kind of just leery, they're not really sure how to go about it, and maybe you started on your MMA journey and you want your friend to get started too because you've seen all the benefits. Show them this video series and hopefully they'll come around, right? And so today I just wanted to talk about why do we train MMA fitness, right? And I say fitness because, again, most of the people that I work with, they're not interested in becoming fighters. They're not interested in beating people up, right? While those are, kind of byproducts and things that people eventually do with this type of training, it's not their main goal. And so if your main goal is just to get fitter, right? You're tired of the way that you work out, you're bored or you're not getting the results you want, so you want to try something new. But you're not really sure what, and you've kind of fallen between. So I'll break it down this way to people who kind of want to get started, but they're not really sure, right? When you talk about fitness, you have to categorize your resistance, right? Or the thing that you use to change your body, right? Into kind of two different categories. The first one is static, right? Static stays the same, right? Static does not change. It is the same throughout, usually from the beginning to the end. Usually only uses, one or very few muscle groups and travels along one plane of motion, front to back, up and down, yada yada, right? Next, you have dynamic movements, usually involving multiple muscle groups across, multiple planes of motion. Dynamic, change, right, is kind of like, how you break it up. So when you're talking about resistance, you have static resistance, stays the same, or dynamic resistance, changes, right? Another thing you hear about in fitness, right, is what's called mind and body connection, right? What your brain does while you're doing these things and what your body does while you're doing these things, right? So the more mind-body connection that you have, in my opinion, as a fitness professional, the better off you're going to be. And I used this little Punnett square. Not really, I don't remember. I didn't pay too much attention in high school chemistry class, but I did find out this little thing, and this is kind of how they talk about genetics, right? So on the spectrum, like we said, right, we have now ST and DY, static, dynamic. Body will be in red, static body, dynamic body. Static mind, dynamic mind in blue, right? So as you go across, you'll see that almost all forms of fitness fall somewhere on this diagram, right? So if you're talking about dynamic body, static mind, I would say that's something like along the lines of running, swimming, climbing, right? One foot in front of the other, look at the line on the pool, where's my next hand-foot placement, right? You can really only think about what you're doing while you're doing it, even though your body is moving across multiple planes. The top and bottom half are in conjunction with each other, right? Front to back, my knees got to come up, they got to come back, etc., right? If we go down here, static body, static mind, I would say this is somewhere along the lines of like bodybuilding, right? You're not really, you're isolating. You're looking for specific muscle groups, specific muscle growth in certain areas. And again, you can't really think about much else besides this, at least if you're, trying to focus. Okay? Move over, static body, dynamic mind. Getting closer, I would say probably something like yoga, right? It's not necessarily so much about the craziness of the movement, so much as it is, making sure that you're holding, making sure that you're, watching your breathing, making sure that your, hands are feeling planted to the ground and your feet are pushing up, like, etc., right? Like, your brain moves a lot, kind of thinks about things, right? Interprets what the teacher's telling you, while your body is kind of sedentary, doesn't really do as much movement, right? And then last but not least, dynamic. And where I would argue MMA training falls. Your brain has to think about a lot of things when someone's trying to choke you, okay? Your body has to think about a lot of things while someone's trying to punch you in the face, right? And while those are the extremes of mixed martial arts training, right, there are quite a few levels down, right, that don't involve getting hurt in any way, shape, or form, right, but that really increase this mind-body connection where your body and your brain are going at 100 miles an hour alongside of each other, right? And there isn't really, you kind of got to focus on where you're at. So if you're looking for something new, if you're looking for something fun, if you're looking for results, if you're looking for efficiency, right, I would argue that you would need something that encourages dynamic use of the body-mind connection. And that's where fighting falls, right? Now, also too, because I'm not biased, even though I'm biased towards fighting, I'm not biased towards other forms of fitness, right? As you cross these lines, you now have what we call in fitness is cross training, right? So people who run and swim alongside of their fighting, right? Or people who do yoga and Pilates alongside their fighting, right? So if you're in a rut, let's say you've been in this square a little too long, only training jiujitsu, only training boxing, and you found yourself in a little bit of a plateau, because plateaus do happen in combat sports too, just like anything else, right? I would encourage you to take a look at another square here, right? Look at different areas of fitness that may help with what you're doing. In my example, climbing is what I did for that, right? I'm thinking really only about climbing, right? It's helping with my grips, it's helping me grow stronger, right? But I'm using it as a form of connection, body mind body connection, right? So that when I go over to jiu-jitsu, right, it directly translates. That's my theory, right? Cross training, dynamic. So that's the argument. That's what I tell people who just want to get started out. Maybe they don't want to be the most serious fighter in the world, but they want something new. They want results. They want to change. MMA training provides that, right? So that's it, guys. Like I said, if you want to get started, you don't know how, you don't know why, at least for this argument, right? Go for what's going to be most efficient. Go for what's going to shock your body and your mind and require them to work really, really hard together. Because if you're doing an hour of just dynamic, mind and body, right? I would argue that that's a lot more work, right? A lot more physical output than bodybuilding training, right? And again, and I have nothing towards bodybuilders. I have huge respect for bodybuilders and power lifters, right? Like they're their own kind of beast, right? But if you want certain results, then you got to make sure that you're standing in the right square, right? So, guys, that's all I got this week. I don't want to make it go on too long. I hope I didn't lose anybody. I hope for the fitness nerds and non-fitness nerds, you guys watched the whole thing. Please like, comment, subscribe. If there's another form of fitness that I missed, if you think I'm completely wrong, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear, I'd love to see, and I'd love to discuss, right? I'm a fitness professional, like some of you are, some of you aren't, right? And this is why, again, this is my passion. This is why I'm here. I'm here to help the community and push the community forward in all aspects, right? So, Lightning Kid out. Come see us next week and every week on Thursdays for the Lightning Kid MMA Beginner's Guide.